Fruit or vegetable? Do you know the difference? Today I will be telling you how to make fried squash. There are 3 pieces of information I will be providing you on how to make fried squash. First, I will be telling you all the specific ingredients and materials you will need. Second, I will tell you the steps on how to make your fried squash. And lastly, I will be giving you some other ideas on how to make your fried squash. First, I will be telling you what specific ingredients you will need. Of course, you're going to need your squash. You're going to need 1 egg, 1 cup of milk. You're going to need a half a cup of flour, a half a cup of cornmeal. You're going to need some seasonings. I have all mine together. If you don't have an all-natural seasoning, salt, pepper, and garlic salt will work. You're going to need 2 different bowls, our frying oil, our fry pan, and of course your cutting board and your knife. Second, I will be telling you the steps on how to make your fried squash. First of all, we're going to gather all of our ingredients. Second, we're going to take our oil and pour about a half a cup to a full cup depending on the size of your pan. And then you're going to want to put it on a medium to low heat, about 4 or 5, again depending on the size of pan you have. Next, we're going to mix our seasonings together, our cornmeal and our flour. So first we're going to take a half a cup of flour and pour it in there, a half a cup of cornmeal, and then our seasonings. I'm just going to put a few shakes in there, enough to make sure that you can see the different color in with the flour. We're going to go ahead and mix that up. If you're using these separate ingredients, you're just going to want to put a dash of each one in there, and if you're worried about if you have enough, we're going to take our spoon, we're going to dampen it in the sink here, put it in there, do a little taste test. You want to make sure that you can taste your seasonings and your flour. Next, we're going to take our second bowl and mix our egg and our milk. We're going to put our egg in first, that way we can really break up the yolk. If you pour your milk in first, it's a lot harder to get that yolk broken up. We're going to take about a cup of milk and pour it in there and get it all mixed up again. We're going to go ahead and set that aside. Next, we're going to take our squash. Make sure that it's rinsed off. And on our cutting board, we're going to go ahead and slice off the top piece and the bottom. We don't need either of those. Next, we're going to slice our squash. You want your pieces to be about a ½ inch wide. You don't want them too thin or else they'll be really crunchy. And you don't want them too big either because they won't cook all the way through. So with our sliced squash, we're going to go ahead and dip that in our milk and egg mixture. You're just going to put all those slices in there. Let them soak for a little bit. And then we have our flour and cornmeal mixture. Now with your squash, you want to make sure that there's not too much excess egg on it, and go ahead and dip that into your flour. You're going to do that with all your pieces. You want to make sure that you get flour on both sides all around it evenly to have a good coat. We're going to go ahead and rinse off our hands, and hopefully our oil will be nice and heated up. I hear it sizzle, so I know that it's ready. I'm going to take my squash, make sure that it's got all the flour on it. We're going to hit it against the side a little bit to not have too much excess flour, or else it makes your oil really dirty. We're going to very carefully go ahead and pop those in there. You're going to want to wait about 5 minutes, and then you're going to want to flip them over until they're golden brown on each side. When you're all done, this is what your fried squash should look like. You're going to have to let those cool down for a little bit, and then you'll be able to enjoy them. Lastly, I will be giving you some other ideas on how to make your fried squash. You can experiment with different seasonings to change the flavor and to see what you like best. The egg that we use in our milk mixture really helps keep the cornmeal and flour on the squash But if you're out of eggs, milk will do just fine. And also, you can also try using zucchini instead of squash. You can do both together for a colorful display. I just covered 3 key pieces of information on how to make fried squash. First, I told you the specific ingredients and materials you will need. Second, I told you the steps on how to make your squash. And lastly, I gave you some other ideas on how to make fried squash. In a botanical sense, squashes are fruit as they contain the seeds of the plant. But in a culinary sense, they are vegetables as they are not usually sweet.